Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm being like my students now, a little bit nervous, but we will get there. Again, good afternoon to our esteemed guests. And I want to call every single one of us in this room change makers, because that's who we are. And, you know, it is truly an honor to be here in this place and at this pivotal time in our lives, you know, talking about turning the tide together, providing hope for our youth. And the moment that I saw the theme, it resonated in my spirit that hope is a shared responsibility in what our young people nowadays may call a hopeless environment or a hopeless world. I believe that together we can create spaces where young people are empowered to heal, thrive, and become all they are destined to be. I believe that every single young person has a purpose in this earth that only they can fulfill. And again, I use the term change makers because I also believe that we are all called and chosen for a time such as this to bring hope and healing to our young people. And so today, I want to talk about a powerful tool for transformation, something that we probably overlook, and that is self-love. And I don't mean the superficial kind of love or the feel-good version of self-love that is often portrayed on social media, but I'm talking about a radical, restorative, and life-changing practice of seeing yourself as valuable, worthy, and whole, despite the scars, despite the challenges, and despite the imperfections. For me, true self-love is self-acceptance. It is embracing yourself, flaws, warts, scars, past, and all, unapologetically and without conditions. Because the truth is, how can others accept you if you do not accept yourself? And how can others love you if you don't love yourself? So self-love is not indulgence. It is the foundation of emotional resilience, inner peace, and meaningful relationships. It is the practice of recognizing our inherent worth and treating ourselves with compassion, respect, and kindness. And one of the tenets that I teach my girls in the Rise Girls group that I lead at John Gray High School is that the same graces that you offer to your friends, the grace of compassion, the grace of forgiveness, there is empathy, patience, those graces are due to you as well. Offer them to yourselves. I believe that these said graces are an act of self-love. Self-love for me also means setting boundaries, something I've struggled with while growing up, and many of you may attest to that we do sometimes struggle as it relates to setting boundaries. And the truth is, some of our young people, they don't even know what boundaries are. Self-love is prioritizing mental health and emotional health and embracing our unique identity. And in my book, Beautiful Me, that I dedicated to my Rise girls, I encourage the girls to accept and love on themselves, love their uniqueness. There is beauty in standing out and in being different. Self-love is a gateway It is an entry point leading to healing, growth, and transformation. It allows us to move beyond pain and trauma to develop emotional regulation and to cultivate a growth mindset, which is what we're trying to instill in our young people. The belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort and perseverance. Most importantly, self-love fosters resilience. And I've heard this word so many times this morning. And resilience is the ability to adapt, recover, and thrive despite adversity. And trust me, I know this truth intimately because I've walked the journey myself. I will share a little bit about my journey from self-hate to self-love. So my trauma began even before I took my first breath. My mother experienced profound grief, rejection, neglect, abandonment, which led to feelings of inadequacy, low self-worth, low self-esteem, and ultimately self-hate. She carried these wounds, and unknowingly, they were passed down to me, what we now call womb wounds. She parented me, of course, the only way she knew how, and so I experienced a double dose of pain. All the trauma listed above, I grew up not experiencing, much like some of our young people, the nurturing and love from a mother. As mentioned, Mom, she parented the only way she knew how. She didn't receive love and warmth from her mom, so how could she give something that she didn't know? By year 6, I had developed unhealthy coping mechanisms, including alcohol use. I had by now experienced abuse in its many forms. I wish I never existed. I had learned to be seen but never heard, words that are uttered by our young people way too often. I believed I did not have a voice. In high school, bullying and rejection reinforced my feelings of unworthiness. I sought validation in unhealthy relationships that mirrored my childhood pain, and so the cycle of self-hate continued into adulthood. But everything changed the first day I met my first client, a year 4 student, back home. So she had written a suicide note, and she drew 3 different ways she would end her life. If one didn't work, she had 2 backups. Through tears, she told me, "I hate myself with a perfect hate." That was me. That moment was my turning point. I became a woman on a mission to help others fall in love with themselves, just as I was learning to do for myself. What are some of the challenges that our youth face in their struggle with self-love? Our young people are navigating a world filled with pressure and challenges that often hinder their ability to love and accept themselves. These struggles manifest daily in anxiety, depression, self-doubt, and destructive behaviors such as alcohol use or abuse, self-harm, and some may even go as far as attempting to commit suicide. Without support, many remain trapped in cycles of pain. So we have media pressure, and thank you, Jesus. I didn't have to deal with that when I was growing up, and some of you can say, thank you, Jesus, we did not have to deal with those either. So there's media pressure and the trap of comparison. In today's digital world, young people are bombarded with curated images of perfection. They compare themselves to influencers with seemingly flawless lives, leading to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. I see this on a daily basis. Some beautiful girls who sit in my office and thinks that they are ugly. Miss, I don't like my nose. Miss, I don't like my eyes. Miss, I don't like my body. And a lot of this is coming from media pressure. There is bullying and peer rejection. Many youths experience bullying and peer and rejection, reinforcing the harmful belief that they are unworthy of love and belonging. I've had so many girls and boys as well who comes into the office and say, Miss, there's no place or space here for me in this world. Family dysfunction and unstable home environments. And earlier, one of our speakers spoke about the fact that there are so many broken homes, so many divorce that is taking place. And it does affect our young people. And I don't think that a lot of our parents realizes that what is happening at home really and truly have an impact on the children. Many young people grow up in broken homes, experiencing neglect, abuse, or emotional instability. I think parents feel that if I'm providing food, shelter, and clothing, that is all you need. These early experiences shape their self-image and emotional well-being. And then there's trauma and mental health struggles. Unprocessed trauma deeply affects self-worth and emotional health. And many young people suffer in silence, believing their pain defines them. And of course, as mentioned earlier, where parents sometimes refuse to take them to get help. How self-love helps. Self-love instills self-worth that is independent of others' opinions. Self-love helps to build resilience, allowing them to stand firm in their identity despite negativity. Self-love strengthens emotional regulation, helping them to respond to bullying in healthier ways. Self-love helps to shift the focus from perfectionism to progress. It reinforces that growth is more important than flawless performance. Self-love provides inner stability, reinforcing their worth despite external circumstances. It encourages healing through self-acceptance, allowing them to break free from generational pain. Self-love builds resilience, helping them to forge healthier relationships in the future. And I somehow left out academic and societal expectations. How could I leave that out? Because I had some students in my office just this week, especially some of my year 11s, who are so stressed out because of the high expectations of parents at home or the society who believes that getting an A is what defines them, or just getting themselves in traditional roles of being a lawyer, and I'm not bashing lawyers, or a doctor, or a teacher. So there's all of that pressure. And so self-love teaches them that their worth is not determined by their success. Building resilience through self-love. And I will read just a little snippet from a blog I received 3 years ago. To the second woman I love, my sister, are resilient. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. and this is by Og Mendino. I ascribe this word to my sister as I've had a front row seat to the battering and thrashing life has met up with her, only to see her rise from the ashes with feathers of steel and the fire of determination. My sister continues to stand firm in the face of every obstacle, meeting every blow with renewed vigor and energy. Despite the mental, physical, and emotional bruises, my sister, like the willow in a storm, bends when she must and always survives. She has stood the test of time, my hero. I wasn't always this person, but self-love has taught me resilience. Self-love is not just a feel-good thing. Rather, it is a protective shield for our young people. It's a shield that strengthens them against life's hardship, as it did me. It enables them to face challenges with courage, embrace failure as a learning experience and not a reflection of worth, recover from setbacks with perseverance instead of self-defeat, develop a sense of purpose beyond external validation. Turning the tide. How can we help our youth to heal? Now, if we want to provide hope for our youth, we must guide them toward self-love. Here's how. Create safe spaces, and this was mentioned earlier as well. Allow them to express their emotions without fear of judgment. Our emotions, we are emotional human beings, and so even though you're angry, it doesn't mean that you have anger issue. Even though you may feel depressed, it doesn't mean that you're an overall depressed person. You are allowed to feel. So we encourage our young people that it is okay to feel. I have seen and experienced the value of offering young people space where they feel valued, heard, and not judged. I had a young man who came in my office a couple of days ago. Initially, he was hesitant to speak. And then I said to him, "Is it a girl?" "Boy, I have been there." And he smiled. And he said, "Miss, is it okay for me to talk about a girl?" I said, "Absolutely." And so he continued, felt a little more comfortable, and he started to speak. And as he spoke, he said, "Miss, I'm sorry. I'm going to cry. I get really emotional." And I said, "Listen, child, I'm a crybaby. I cry for everything. That is a part of me that I had struggled with in my past. But over time, I began loving and accepting that side of me." He smiled, and with tears streaming down his face, he started to share again. He said, "Thank you, Miss." Number 2, encourage positive affirmations. We need to help our young people see themselves as valuable and worthy. I encourage my girls to create boards on Pinterest with positive affirmations and speak positive things to themselves. On my journey of self-love and healing, what became a ritual for me was standing in front of the mirror and talking to the girl looking back at me and telling her, "I love you." Initially, when I started, I did not believe, but I do believe that words have power. And when we speak a word out of our mouth, we're planting a seed. And the more often we speak those positive words, we're watering those seeds and we're giving them room to grow. And even though initially I did not believe that I loved me, but after repeating it over a year, I started to actually believe that I loved me, and I fell in love with me, flaws, warts, and all. And so I encourage my girls. Thank you. And so I encourage my girls to speak positive and kind words to themselves. Number 3, normalize mental health support. Therapy and counseling should be seen as strengths and not stigmas. Believe it or not, there is still a stigma surrounding mental health here on our islands. I often say to my parents and even my kids that even the counselor knows when she needs to get some counseling herself. We need to break this stigma and normalize getting help. Promote faith and spiritual growth. A strong foundation in faith can be a powerful source of hope. I grew up in a Christian home on I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In some of my lowest times, my spiritual foundation has really given me hope. As I went through my self-love journey, the scriptures about being fearfully and wonderfully made, being created in God's image, being God's masterpiece, and having experienced God's love in the most tangible way helped or taught me his love for me, and by extension, how to love myself and love others. Turning the tide starts with teaching our youth to love themselves. When they embrace love, they heal from past wounds, build resilience, and step confidently into a future filled with hope. I stand before you today as proof that healing is possible. When we choose to love ourselves and encourage our young people to love themselves and accept themselves and become aware of their value, we unlock true potential. Let us commit as change makers to guide our youth toward this path of hope and healing. I thank you.